If you have an interest in horses and love learning more about horses, the horse industry, teaching, or even managing your own horse business, then you're in the right place. We would love you to join us on our mission, which is to improve the lives of horses around the world through the education of riders, handlers, and trainers. So get comfortable, listen in, and enjoy.
Today's chat's been brought to you by International Horse College. Their vision is to have a world where people safely appreciate, respect and enjoy their horses, and the horses appreciate, respect and enjoy their people. Have a look now, talk to the friendly staff. The details are on internationalhorsecollege.com. Now today we've got Paul Cornish over from the UK. Paul does a lot of different types of training with horses, from teaching children, exercising race horses. He's ridden himself up to including Grand Prix. Rides stallions, he's a pony club instructor. But I think Paul's big thing is that he says, tell us what you need and we'll see if we can help. And I think, if someone's going to be that flexible, not be rigid and say, we only do this, but say, let us help you. I think that goes a lot for customer service and just flexibility and trying to get people to get their needs sorted. Sometimes people can come with one particular problem that they've got, or one goal in mind. And then, as it turns out, even over a few more lessons or months or weeks, it tends to be a completely separate goal. Now, Paul, are you there? How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Paul, I'm really interested in talking to you. We haven't talked before. You started with horses quite young, didn't you? When did you first start with horses?
I started when I was 7. It just sort of happened, my brother was going away on a football weekend, and my mum and dad said to me, what would I like to do for the weekend? And I said I wanted to go horse riding. And we went to our local riding stables, booked up, had my first lesson the following day, and everything went from there.
Did your brother ever come back and say, well, what are you doing? I want to go riding as well?
No, he was then quite happy with his football. Yeah,
that's good. That's good. Okay.
I did try football, but I was no good at it. My family.
It's good for the equine world that you weren't good at football, because otherwise you might have stuck at that and not stuck with horses. Yeah.
I think everyone assumed I was going to go into football because my uncle was into football as a professional.
Right.
And my then dad and brother played football as amateurs. So I just sort of had a go, but it just wasn't for me.
Okay, well, that's, good for us, as I said. Now, thinking about you riding, and I like to listen to some stories, just stories about you riding pony, something that you didn't work out or something that was a bit of a lesson for you that you've learned from there. Have you got a good story for us? Something about your first memories?
I think it was being part of a wonderful riding school. I think it's a shame now that over in the UK, it's harder and harder for them riding schools then to keep going because of finances. But back in my childhood days, there was lots of riding schools, and I spent all my childhood at one riding school, and just it was very supportive. We rode a complete mixture of ponies, horses, different types, different breeds, different temperaments. And back in, I'm talking about 45 years ago now, you was allowed to do a lot. Health and safety wasn't then quite so full on like it is now. So you learned to have fun with your horses. And I think looking at present day, it can be very competitive, and I like to think people still have fun and still then love their horses. And I think back in my childhood days, it was, you had competitions, but there was nowhere near as many competitions as there is now. And you loved your horse, you had fun, and that's what I still think back to my childhood days now, and like to bring that into my business.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's not just You know, we talk about it being about the horses. It's not about the horses. There's so much more, you know, just the community and the fun and the and even to do with the
Absolutely.
horses. You know, people think it's all
Yeah.
about the riding, but it's not about the riding. It's about the learning and the caring and the responsibility, but also the appreciation you get back, you know, from the horse
Yeah.
when things are
Yeah.
going right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, as far as, you know, you going and being an amateur rider and turning into a professional rider, was that like an early decision or something you did as you were leaving school? How did that work out?
No, I mean, when I was leaving school, we was always told you need to get a job for life, go into a bank or something like that. You know, never want to work with like horses or something like that. So I spent quite a few years in an office, and I got my teaching exams, and I was teaching weekends and evenings. And the more that I was learning, the more that I wanted to learn. And it sort of got to the stage with my office job, I either had to commit more to that and go for promotions, or did I want to learn and develop more with the horses? And I sort of looked out the office window one day and thought, this is a very easy choice. I want to be out there working with horses. And that was probably about 20 years ago. So I spent many years just teaching weekends, evenings around my then office job. I was very lucky that my office job, it was quite flexible. So I could sometimes come in late, leave early. I think they could see that I was very focused on both, but they also let me also then, you know, like develop my then love for the teaching.
Yeah, yeah. And for people coming into the industry, because we get lots of people wanting to come into the industry, I talk to people all the time and they want to come in and they want a job and they work with horses and you start to talk to them about what do you think it involves? You know, I just want to brush them. I just want to be in their company. I just want to, and it's all very what they want instead of what the industry needs, what the horse industry needs, how we can be a productive person within that industry. But if someone's coming into the industry and you were interviewing them, what sort of core skills would you think that someone should have before they come into the industry?
I mean, I've, I think people have got to be prepared then to work hard.
Yep.
You've got to be prepared to actually put yourself out, because nothing actually comes to you. My first job working for an international dressage rider, I actually phoned him up, went round, met him and said, can I voluntary one day a week work at your yard? I don't want paying, I just want to learn how an international dressage yard operates, working with that calibre of horses. So one day a week, I wasn't paid, but I wanted, and I think from there, it went to part-time, it went to full-time, then it went to me running the yard, because it was an international dressage rider called Paul Haler. And I think he could see that I wanted to be there, because I then started voluntary. So I think people need to you have to put yourself out, you have to give, to get opportunities then to come your way. People then want to see that you actually want to be there. I can remember a few weeks on my Fridays at Paul's, he then said to me when I left, next week, bring your then riding hat, because you can ride, and you had to earn that. It wasn't given to you. You had to earn the respect that you'd worked hard, that you had good social skills with people, with horses, and it was a great buzz leaving the yard thinking, crikey, I'm actually going to ride next week. I think quite often now people expect that they're going to ride, rather than you've got to do the yard work. You've then got to feed, you've then got to muck out, you've then got to sweep, you've then got to groom, you've got to wash off, you've got to tack up. And if you can show that you're prepared to roll your sleeves up, opportunities will then begin to come your way.
Yes. I like the way that they've invited you to ride, because another thing that people say when they want to work with horses is, I'll help you exercise the horses. And you talk to them about their riding and how much riding they've done. And have you ever done any formal education? Have you ever competed? Have you ever done this? Oh, no, they don't have the idea. And I like your attitude that people come in, and I don't think that's unique to the horse industry. I think it's a life skill. You're prepared to work hard, put yourself out, and have those social skills with people and horses. And, I like to think an open mind, bit of flexibility.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think it's difficult for the youngsters now, because social media, back in my younger days, you had to talk to people. There was no phones, there was no messaging people, there was no social media sites. It was then talking to people. So myself, as a then child, I was actually very then shy. And it wasn't until I started to go to work and started to actually teach that I actually become more confident, and I probably found myself. But that was through actually meeting people, talking to people. And I think nowadays, when you see youngsters or even adults, we can all be stuck on our phones, and we actually forget the skill of communicating, talking to people. So I think it's a totally different era now. We was interviewing a couple of weeks ago. You just want someone that's nicely presented, enthusiastic, willing to learn, wants to be there, and you can then help them with some training. But I think it's the want then to do something.
Yep. Now, I know you said the best thing or great thing in the industry was you earned the right to ride, but thinking about overall the best thing about working in the industry, in the horse industry, what would you say?
I've been lucky that I've met lots of lovely people. But for me, it's seeing a horse and rider develop their partnership, relationship, and see maybe someone that was lacking confidence having their first canter, or going then to their first show, being then part of then someone's journey. Because I think everyone's got a then journey, where they've come from. We've got different issues that we then have to tackle. And being a coach, we have to be sometimes counsellor to them people. We have to have good then people skills, good communication with horses, understanding horses, people, and it's seeing partnerships. And when you then see them then as you go to shows, and for me, that's a really good day's work, that you can go home happy. And every time that I teach, I want to finish that lesson feeling that I've achieved something, as well as the rider. And it's that sharing, hopefully, what I've learned over the years, that I can share and I can give back to people.
Paul, you've mentioned, you talked about where you learned to ride, and how much you enjoyed that, and working at Paul's. Is there, who's one person who's influenced you in your career with horses and your knowledge? Is there one that we can pick out that you'd say this person, but also why are you picking this person?
I think I would find that difficult, because there's been many from my childhood days at the riding school. The owner of the riding school was someone called Anne Ackland. She then really helped me through my lacking confidence days when I was a child and I was shy, and she used to, being one of the only boys in the riding school, she used to make sure that I was included, and that was a then special relationship that we had. Then actually going on to working for Paul Haler, giving me the opportunity then to work for an international dressage yard. I've now currently got a then judge mentor, someone that actually mentors me as a coach, as as a judge, someone called Anita Darkin. So I think over the years I've got someone from Anne from my childhood days, Paul that got me in, that sort of offered me my first international job, and my mentor Anita that actually helps me now. I think everyone needs a mentor, someone that can guide you, can support you, can equally say, I think that you then could have done that then better, or what about thinking about it this way? So I think probably it would be hard then to choose one, because there was 3 different parts in my career that actually led me to sort of where I am today.
I think that's interesting that you've chosen the 3, but you've also the 3 for where you were then. Even the instructor at the riding school who helped you with your confidence, and we see it all the time. You don't have to be a high level or competing at a high level or anything else. There's a lot of instructors, and these are people all around the world that help the kids with their first canter, their first little jump, the first getting them ready for the first ride. I think that position, that job is so important. And I think we've got to give thanks to all those people that get the amount of people started giving them the right foundation, so then those people can move on.
Exactly. And, I think we must. I then teach for some local riding clubs. I judge for some riding clubs, and it's your then grassroots people that are the ones that some of them will then come into the industry as a then profession. Some of them will then become hopefully fantastic riders and will achieve lots. But it's those then grassroots that I still love getting involved with the local riding clubs, helping them, teaching clinics, judging, because that's where everyone started. That's where I then started, and we must never forget, we was all there one day. We was all learning at the first riding trot, learning how to steer, learning not to bounce. And yes.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think also too that it's a little bit what we were talking about before, is that it's not always about the riding, that some people come in, and especially, working within equine assisted therapy, or, things that it's nothing to do with the horses, but the horses make the bridge between where that person is now, where they need to be. And it may be to do with their confidence or something else. And even if they don't ride, it's just the connecting with the horse and, all of the benefits there. So, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Is there a particular horse that you think is a standout, or is it the same that you've had a couple of different horses depending where you were at the time?
Probably my current horse, Bunny. His show name is Limitless. He gives. He's just lovely. I was very then lucky. I got him from a friend of mine, Nikki Barker, who's an international dressage rider over here. He's a 10-year-old Oldenburg from Lexington bloodlines, and he's just an absolute pleasure to ride, but also teaches you. If you then get it wrong, he actually lets you know. When you then get it right, he actually lets you know. He's a great leveler. You must never take him then for granted. You've then got to put the right aids on, sit in the right way, so he actually makes you ride correctly, or as correctly as you then can. So he's actually been a really good learning curve for me. He's sort of training at home, medium level, competing at the moment, elementary, but he's got simple changes there, and we're really looking forward to then progressing and seeing what we can get from him.
Is your proudest moment on your current horse, or is there a different one, or your proudest moment with your students? Tell us a little bit about that.
Every time I take Sunny, my horse, out to a competition, I actually feel proud, because he's just a beautiful horse then to then be around. Equally, when a client of mine goes then to competition, that makes you feel really proud because you've been part of their then journey. But probably for me, I just love I love the actual riding, I love the actual training, helping people. I've never probably been over then competitive. I actually love the actual day-to-day getting to know horses, working with them. They're all individuals, seeing what actually works, how their minds work, and just the actual day-to-day building, training at home.
Okay, and thinking about your journey, your career, starting off at the riding school when you first started going through and working full-time and, doing a bit on the weekend, and then moving into full-time training and, now what you're doing now, and you seem to be very happy doing it. If I think about biggest challenge, and we've got to rule out money because everyone says they haven't got enough money. Yeah. But what would be your biggest challenge to get where you are now? Thinking back, what was my biggest challenge? And also how you got over it, how you got through it, what made you just keep pushing and going that little bit further?
I think a real turning point for myself was lockdown, which was probably for everyone. The first weekend of lockdown over in the UK, everything just completely stopped. And I decided to set up my online training page because I wanted to be doing something. I didn't just want to, albeit that you've got horses then to care for, I wanted them to still be doing more. So I decided then to set up my online training page that actually got me through lockdown. But also, I just can't believe how it's taken off, and we've got followers from many different countries. That's how I then first got to know Rhiannon, who then sort of passed some other details over to yourself. I helped Rhiannon. I also helped someone in Canada, Julie, who's the World Western Dressage champion, and also I now co-teach once a week with Christoph Hess. So the greatest challenge was sitting down thinking, okay, everything stopped. I need to do something. I need to, and I just wrote lots of then training articles, and people suddenly liked them and liked my page and started then to share them. So that was a big challenge of, I think, everyone of then had to come through lockdown, and the sort of online stuff has now given a totally different avenue for them people working, but also gave me lots of opportunities then to sit down, reflect of where I want to be, want to go, and as I said, met lots and lots of them lovely people during the way.
I think the whole lockdown almost brought it forward. We're using technology a lot more. I mean, we've always, well, we haven't always, but we've been training online to do government accredited courses for quite a few years. But the whole giving lessons online, I mean, Rhiannon's here all the way over in Australia, and she trains regularly with you and Christoph. Using technology that hasn't been available or, not as commonly available, and then going out to competitions and doing well because she's been able to get input from world-class trainers. So I think that's just something that's just, it's just amazing, isn't it, to be able to do that.
It is, because, I mean, one of my biggest challenges was how to then use technology, because I've never been particularly technically minded with computers, phones and that. I've always wanted just to have a very basic phone that you can just phone, take a picture, that's it, send a message. So for me, learning how to use Zoom, how to use the actual PixIm cameras, how to then connect to the PixIm cameras, how to do an online lesson, that was a really big challenge because made me, I was not comfortable. So I then had to begin to get comfortable with technology. And like you said, realise how wonderful technology is and how it can help you with your then day-to-day job now.
Yeah, for sure. When you're teaching someone online or when you're going to a pony club and you've got a group of kids that you're teaching, or if you go out and you travel to other places to teach, do you feel like there's a common thread that goes through that you like to teach people? You might, I don't know, some instructors might get everyone off the horse and do certain exercises first. You might do certain things first, or something that you notice again and again that we're asking for training. We're asking for training tips. People listen to the podcast and go, "Oh, I'd really like to get some training tips from Paul. He sounds awesome." But is there a particular tip that you'd like to give that's fairly generic that a lot of people will gain benefit from?
Yes, I mean, I think one of the biggest things people worry about is that horse round? Is it then in and out line? Is it then in and then contact? And they're so worried about the actual front end. I like to get riders to be able to walk, trot, canter with a loose rein, so that both horse and then rider find their own balance. And if you then ride the whole horse, the front end tends to then look after itself. And probably one of my main things that I'd like to think that I pass over to people is we've got to make happy, comfortable horses. And to make them happy and then comfortable, they have to have the space and then the room through the actual contact then to then move forward. So if we've got our own balance and the horse learns its own balance, and then we put the two then together, and then we can only pick a horse up if it knows how to stretch, if it knows how to open out. So I think that is something that I'm always going on about. Horses need to have space, room, freedom, fluency, then to be able to move forward. When I'm then judging, I want to see a happy horse, a comfortable horse, a happy rider. And I think nowadays it can be so, people worry about, is my horse round enough? Does it, where's its head needs to be? And if we just take the actual pressure off and just ride the horse forward, let it learn how to stretch, how to open, feel comfortable that you can canter or trot with a long rein, with a loose rein, with your feet out the stirrups, that we don't need to be holding tight onto the rein. So probably that would be my sort of biggest advice, is for people to learn confidence, that we don't need reins, we don't need stirrups then to then stay on, to then ride, and then to learn how to sort of connect to horse properly, I would say.
Yeah, I think that's certainly something that a lot of people are starting to realise a lot more, to just look for the happy, comfortable horse, and the horse is going to give you the feedback and tell you what they want, what they need.
Yes.
So where to now, Paul? You've sort of got over the technology and you can give online lessons now. You can, you've sort of moved into something that you've wanted to do all the time. What does your future hold?
I just really want to myself keep on then learning. I then still have regular training from my mentor, who is a List 1 Grand Prix judge. So then to keep learning, to develop, we've got a then lovely training yard in a lovely little village in Suffolk, south in the eastern part of the UK. We've got fantastic facilities that we can have people come over, stay, have camps, to develop our then training business, to keep learning more as a rider, as a coach, as a judge. I think that we then never stop learning, and that, people need to realise that we never know everything, but if you've got a good support team around you, you can then find out answers. You can then learn more and just actually keep learning and developing our own training business that we've got over in the UK.
Yeah. And Paul, you obviously I know you're competing, but you seem to prefer the training rather than the competing.
Yeah, I then just love seeing then horses develop, learn new things, working with them. They're all individual. They all then teach us something. We need to listen, look at a horse, listen to what they're trying to tell us, what we're then trying to understand from them, what they're trying to understand from us. And I've just always found the actual training side really, really fascinating. And I love going to shows, but my passion would be training horses to then make happy horses.
Yep. I think that's what it's all about. Paul, if people would like to contact you, is it your website they should go through, or a phone number, an email? What's the best way for you?
They can actually contact me through my. I've got a couple of different Facebook pages. I've got my international online training Facebook page, or my clinic camp competition Facebook page, via WhatsApp, via my email. I've got Paul at paulcornish.question.co.uk as my email. So either email, WhatsApp. Am I allowed then to give my number?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. If you're happy for people to call you, that's fine.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Yes, so it's obviously UK. It's 07950 437 067. So we've got email, we've got WhatsApp, or we've got Messenger through one of my various Facebook pages.
Okay. All right, and those details too will be on the bottom of your page at Horse Chat. So if you'd like to just go to horsechats.com and search for Paul or search for Cornish, and at the bottom of the page with this chat will be all of his contact details as well.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Paul, for coming on. I think the chat's been wonderful. I really like talking to you, and I love the way that you've really pushed forward. You're looking for happy, comfortable horses, and I think that's just so essential. Yeah. All right, and if we can just spread the word, happy, comfortable horses, I think we'll certainly be ahead. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for coming on, Paul, and we hope to catch up with you again soon.
Definitely, absolutely. Thank you.
If you've enjoyed this chat, then please comment, rate and subscribe. If you'd like any changes or recommendations for guests, then please contact us through horsechats.com. And while you're online, have a look at the government-accredited courses at internationalhorsecollege.com. Registered Training Organisation 31352.
Remember that our comments and instructions are general in nature and do not take into consideration your individual horses or your individual ability and circumstances. If you enjoyed this podcast, then please leave your comment below.